hate-mongering within our community.
Million public school kids are in.
Within our community, divisive and hate-mongering. With the superintendent and the board, they've been so divisive and hate-mongering. The superintendent and the board, they've been so divisive and hate-mongering within our community. Divisive and hate-mongering. The superintendent and the board, they've been so divisive and hate-mongering within our community.
Nationally, 3 million public school kids are in gifted programs. Many of their parents are now watching what's happening in Seattle. Harris?
And we'll be watching it too. Dan Springer, thank you very much. As we round out this hour of outnumbered overtime, let's pop up the Dow. It has now slid another 655 points. We were watching this all hour long, all day. This, we believe, is mostly on concerns over coronavirus. And the spike in Italy now, 283 cases, 54 of those in just the last day or so. 7 people have died in country in Italy. So with the spread going outside of China and spreading to Iran and other areas, the question now is, how is that happening so quickly? They are looking for the origin of each of the spread and trying to contain this thing. The Dow today, and that's outnumbered overtime. Here's the daily briefing.
It is not a matter of if, but when the coronavirus outbreak hits the United States. Not a matter of if, but when the coronavirus outbreak hits the United States. Not a matter of if, but when the coronavirus outbreak hits the United States. That from the CDC in the last hour, warning Americans to prepare for the possibility of an outbreak. Last hour, virus outbreak hits the United States. That from the CDC in the last hour, warning Americans to prepare for the possibility of an outbreak. Last hour, warning Americans to prepare for the possibility of an outbreak. Last hour, warning Americans to prepare for the possibility of an outbreak. This as health officials around the world are scrambling to contain the potentially deadly disease amid an alarming spike in cases outside of China. It's also causing a sell-off on Wall Street for the second straight day. Around the world, more than 2,700 people have died, the number of cases now topping 80,000. That includes 35 countries. Most of the cases topping 700 people have died. Around the world, more than 2,700 people have died, the number of cases now topping 80,000. 700 people have died, the number of cases now topping 80,000. 700 people have died, the number of cases now topping 80,000. 700 people have died, the number of cases now topping 80,000. That includes 35 countries, most topping 80,000. That includes 35 countries. Most of the cases, of course, are in mainland China, but the recent jumps in Europe and the Middle East have set off concerns about a possible pandemic. In Europe and the Middle East have set off concerns about a possible pandemic. In Europe and the Middle East have set off concerns about a possible pandemic. In Europe and the Middle East have set off concerns about a possible pandemic. President Trump this morning says there is no need for Americans to panic.
The coronavirus, which is very well under control in our country. We have very few people with it, and the people that have it are, in all cases, I have not heard anything other. The people are getting better. They're all getting better. We brought in some Americans from a ship because it was really the right thing to do, and they're in quarantine. And we think they'll be in very good shape very, very soon.
Those comments coming before the latest from health officials. We have Fox team coverage. Chad Pergram is standing by on Capitol Hill with reaction from lawmakers after the president sent them an urgent budget request to respond to the outbreak. But we begin with Jonathan Sterry. He's live in Atlanta. That's home to the CDC. Jonathan.
Hi, Dana. CDC officials say they're concerned about increasing reports of severe illness and sustained person-to-person spread in Italy and multiple Asian countries. Take a listen.
These factors meet two of the criteria of a pandemic. As community spread is detected in more and more countries, the world moves closer towards meeting the third criteria. More and more countries, the world moves closer towards meeting the third criteria. More and more countries, the world moves closer towards meeting the third criteria, worldwide spread of the new virus.
The CDC has issued a level 2 travel advisory urging visitors to take enhanced precautions in Italy, where officials have reported more than 300 confirmed cases, including 7 deaths. And a level 3 advisory is urging people to avoid non-essential travel to South Korea, where the virus has infected nearly 1,000 people and may affect joint military exercises with the U.S. Dana?
And tell me, what do we know about how the CDC is trying to slow the spread of this virus?
Yeah, and they are preparing, on their conference call today, they seem to be trying to prepare the American public for the eventuality that there may be more measures that need to be taken within this country to continue slowing the spread. They seem to be, they told American families to start planning for that reality. The U.S. policy of identifying and isolating infected persons has kept the number of cases confirmed in the U.S. to a relatively low 57. That number is just recently updated, but as the virus spreads to more countries outside China, federal health officials warn containment at our nation's borders becomes more difficult. And so CDC officials say that once we see community spread in this country, we might see measures like schools closing, more people telecommuting, working from home, students studying from home, and also the cancellation of major public gatherings.
Right.
It's an invasion. We're under an invasion by the deep, dark, demonic, delirious, delusional devils. They're forming this microscopic virus that is now getting into people's bloodstreams, people's DNA, attacking their systems to the point that the weak and the demented cannot hold up underneath these type of strenuous pressures, especially those who are elderly or the young or those who already have a pre-existing problem to begin with. We're under siege by this evil demonic force, this demon that has been let loose upon to the world to bring havoc towards an outbreak of possibly a worldwide pandemic. Every day whenever I turn the news on, it appears that it's getting worse. Not better, but worse. And of course, whenever you see the consequences involved, whenever you see these numbers right here continue to do what they're doing, you understand the jitters that Wall Street and other investors are taking all over the world pertaining to seeing this happen. This is not some sort of a delusion. This is not some sort of a mythology. This is the real deal. This isn't Hollywood. This is the real deal that's going on the planet. And if it ever comes near a neighborhood near you, you will no longer be sniggering and laughing over what others are suffering and going through. What others are suffering and going through. Once more, the Bible says that if you cannot love, if you claim that you love God, but yet no, if you cannot love he who you can see, even though you may not know her or know her background or know anything about them, if you cannot love your fellow man, how can you say that you love God? If in actuality you don't love your fellow man. The truth not be in you. This coronavirus is taking on a toll for a microscopic germ, a billionth the size of a human being, in untold ways, such as mankind has never seen, which is just the exact prophecy being fulfilled that Jesus said that in the last days would occur in the last days pertaining to hardships, uprisings, calamities, diseases, pestilences, earthquakes, volcanoes. All these are the beginnings of the sorrows that God talks about in the Bible because of mankind's sin. But yet now we have a president that refuses to acknowledge about global warming. And now we have a president who's obviously contradicting the repercussions of this type of disease, this type of virus. I don't understand Donald Trump's mentality. Whenever you can see the duck, it quacks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it smells like a duck, but you refuse to call it a duck. I refuse to call it a duck, even though it has all the characteristics of being a duck. I do not understand Donald Trump's mentality. And I don't know if he's just in total denial. I don't know if it's some sort of sickness that the guy's got. You know, I used to say, well, it's because he's not a professional politician. Okay? That was an scapegoat. He's not a professional politician. All right, that'll work for a certain amount of time. But then one has to be asking, well, what's the deal towards him seeing the facts? Kind of like the Oklahoma cover-up that occurred going on 25 years ago. And people are still in denial of the facts. It's one thing for it to be a form of philosophy or a form of ideology, kind of like Greek mythology. You know, there was a lot of times that whenever Greek mythology was studied, it was looked upon as being mythology or ideology. But now, since we've got machinery that can go down into the ocean and understand these artifacts that we're now discovering every day, we're figuring out that, hey, guess what? The Greek mythology wasn't mythology. It wasn't ideology. It was actual facts of what that they was trying to tell us thousands and thousands of years ago. And here's the proof. Here's the facts. How come we have a president that refuses to look at the facts? That's the $64,000 question. That's the $1 million question that I still can't wrap my mind around of why in the world would a person deny the facts. You know, if it's hot outside, we call it hot. If it's cold outside, we call it cold. If it's warm or pleasant, we know these things and we put these things into various categories because these are the reality of the facts of what we're experiencing during the time that we're experiencing them. Donald Trump must be living on some kind of freaking other planet sometimes whenever he comes out with these analogies, regardless whether it be over global warming or whatever. I mean, from a business sector, he may be as good as gold. But from a common sense sector, he's missed the mark how many times? It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. It's almost like he's got a cloud over his head and he's blinded to the facts. How come you're blinded to the facts, Mr. President? Do you have some sort of a sickness? Does it got to do with dementia? Does it have to do with the world that you've been adjusted to towards living among the high and the almighty? And you just don't understand? Whenever you see facts, that it is in fact the facts?
Conferences and the like. Okay, thank you, Jonathan Sari. Team Fox coverage continues. Congressional correspondent Chad Programs live on Capitol Hill. And that's where Health and Human Services Secretary Alex...
When CDC gets involved, It's an automatic serious moment. Now, how serious depends upon their levels. They got a level 1, they got a level 2, they got a level 3. Once you get into level 2 and 3, now it's starting to sure enough get serious. If it goes beyond level 2 and 3, then it becomes catastrophic. And if the truth be known, what is and has went on with China should probably reach the levels of 3 and 4. Maybe even in some cases 5. Because if the truth be known, they're probably sequestering the truth and not telling everything about what all's going on over there. You keep in mind that those people have a certain image to have to sustain and fulfill. And they're not going to tell the whole truth. Tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Because they don't want to be deprived of their reputation. And whenever something like this occurs, it's devastating. It's devastating to your country. It's devastating economically. It's devastating socially. It's devastating physically. It's devastating mentally. It's devastating in every way imaginable. It's devastating whenever something like this falls upon your land, or falls upon your community, or falls upon your family, or falls upon yourself. It's devastating. But what's even more devastating is whenever we have a chief and commander that obviously don't recognize the facts of reality towards the seriousness of all this. And it's not just the coronavirus. It's not just some of the things that he said pertaining to the Ukrainian government that's supposed to be our allies. It's not just global warming. I could go down a long, long list of different things that Donald Trump is contradicted in comparison to what everybody else is saying. He's saying just the opposite. A long list. A very long list. So what's up with this guy? What's up with our chief and commander, Donald John Trump? Donald J. Trump. What is up with this guy?
Are this morning made the official request for emergency coronavirus funding. And how's that reaction going on the Hill, Chad?
Well, Dan, lawmakers are very concerned about this. There was a special classified briefing for all senators early this morning. And then, as you say, Alex Azar testified about that $2.5 billion request that the administration...
$2.5 billion is what they're requesting to be put on the table immediately because they see this coming down the pike. Now, I don't know if it's going to hit or not, and hope to God it don't, but if it does, obviously it's already stirred up concerns towards somebody saying, we're going to need some additional help. And we're not talking about a little bit of help pertaining to FEMA that did not do their job pertaining to Katrina and other catastrophes that has hit the country, but people are trying to prepare for this.
Needs to move through Congress over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Listen.
This is an unprecedented, potential severe health challenge globally, and will require these additional measures.
12 spending bills fund the federal government each year. This is a 13th bill reserved for war, terrorism, and recovering from natural disasters. The administration wants Congress to approve the package totaling $2.5 billion to address the coronavirus. Only $1.2 billion is brand new money. The rest involves moving money around from other accounts. Democratic Hawaii Senator Brian Schatz believes the administration's proposal is slapdash.
And how do you get to 2.5 with any degree of specificity or reliability? Is $2.5 billion sort of pulled out of a hat? I haven't gone through ability. Is $2.5 billion sort of pulled out of a hat? Specificity or reliability. Is $2.5 billion sort of pulled out of a hat? I haven't gone through it with a fine-tooth comb yet, but I have been told that this is the least detailed supplemental that they've ever seen.
It lacks any real thought of planning. It seems to be more for a press release.
Most Democrats in the House of Representatives oppose moving money around from other accounts, in particular $535 billion for Ebola. That's where they would want to transfer that over to deal with coronavirus. That would have to be approved by Congress. The rest would not. This is why House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats want to create their own more robust package. Dana?
All right, well, maybe they can do that. We'll see how it works. But in the meantime, they should get the president what he's asking for to help keep us all safe. Chad, thank you so much. We will keep an eye on Wall Street. But now, back to Paul.
Keep us all safe. He don't think we have nothing to be concerned about.
Politics. Democratic frontrunner Senator Bernie Sanders not backing down on
Very concerned about this. There was a special classified briefing for all senators early this morning. And then, as you say, Alex Azar testified about that $2.5 billion request. Alex Azar testified about that $2.5 billion request. Alex Azar testified about that $2.5 billion request that the administration needs to move through Congress over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Listen.
This is an unprecedented potential severe health challenge. Is an unprecedented potential severe health challenge. Is an unprecedented potential severe health challenge.
Now, he did say potential. And the word potential means possibility. So it's not inevitable yet. But it's at that next stage towards becoming inevitable.
Globally, and will require.
Listen.
This is an unprecedented potential severe health challenge globally, and will require these additional measures.
12 spent.
And will require severe health challenge globally, and will require these additional measures. Is an unprecedented potential severe health challenge globally.
Potential threat challenge. Did you understand what he said?
And will require these additional measures. Global is an unprecedented potential severe health challenge.
Potential. The word potential.
Globally, and will
through $5 billion request that the administration needs to move through Congress over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Listen.
This is an